Posture has a lot to do with back pain, and although posture is a very big subject, we're really just going to talk about the simple parts of it today to get us started. So posture, when you're looking at people's backs and thinking about what is giving them the pain, you often see three different things happening. Often you see that they're tipping to one side, or they're turning slightly, or they're bending too far back or too far forward. When those things are put together, you tend to give your back a very hard time. And backs are very complicated structures. But the two things that tend to happen are compressive pain. And compressive pain is where you're leaning on one side so that one side's got much more weight on it than the other. And the second kind of pain comes after that. If you have compressive pain on one side, where you're putting pressure into the small joints down the side of the spine, where you're putting joints and muscles into loading that's much bigger on one side than the other side, where you're holding the whole weight of your body in one spot, which is coming down onto that spot in your spine, then you're also compressing the disc. And discs are different from the rest of your spine. Your vertebrae are made of bone, but the discs between them are more like marshmallows with a strong covering around the outside. And when you squeeze a marshmallow or you squeeze a donut, what happens? All the stuff goes to the other side. And that's what happens with discs. You squash across towards the other side. And that disc bulge can pick up the nerves on the other side. So sometimes you see people with pain on one side from compressive pain, and on the other side from disc pain. And they might feel the same, but they're totally different things. Most of us don't see this coming. Posture, your normal posture, if it's not straight and balanced, will give you a loading more in one place than another. And one of the places we get a lot of loading is through our low backs. And if we're not central there, then we'll load one side of it more than the other side. When we start to add in, do we walk evenly? Do we stand evenly? Are our shoulders level? Are our heads in the middle of our bodies? Then all of those can be low. It's just having your head out of the right place. Having your head over to one side takes 4 or 5 kilos of weight across to this side. And that can all end up adding to the weight of your shoulder and chest, all leaning down onto your low back. And if then you are sticking your bottom out a little bit, so that your bottom's stuck out right at the back and you're leaning across towards it, and you tend to turn that hip back a little bit or your shoulder back a little bit, then you've got a real pinch happening down on that side of your back. And if you go down to your back at that side, it'll feel very tight, but you might have your pain only on the other side. It depends where your weight is. The answer to all of this is get your posture sorted. Work out where your weight is. The first and easiest thing to notice is it on one foot or the other. Just feel about. Is it on your left foot or your right foot? Have a look at your shoulders. Are they even? And then look at your hips. If your hips are able to touch your kitchen bench both evenly on both sides, then they're in the same plane. But if one of them's turned back, then the chances are you can't support your back on that side very well. And that really means that you can't use your buttock, your hip flexor, the opposite muscle will tend to work too much. Your low back will work very hard on one side and not very well on the other side. Your abdominal muscles will work well on one side, but they won't work on the other side nearly as well. And all of those things set you up for a back that's loaded unevenly and isn't supported evenly. And if both those things are happening, you're going to get back pain. And if you fall over somewhere and have an accident or fall out of a tree or shoveling snow and get pain, then it's understandable that you'd get back pain and that you might be doing those sort of positions, or you might be pulled into that sort of position. It's an extraordinary thing that happens. But if those things are happening when you're walking down the street, then you're much more likely to have back pain. If those things happen when you're running, or you're doing your exercise, or when you sit up in the gym, you go into an unloaded position, an unbalanced position, then you're much more likely to have problems. And that's what we want to sort out. Coming back to looking for our capital I to start things with. Capital I, shoulders level, pelvis level, nose over your belly button. And holding on to that position as you start exercise and all the way through exercise is the best way to limit your back pain.